Guys? So I was talking to some players today, and we were just talking about hitting a little bit and different aspects of hitting. And one of the subjects that we got onto was the stride. And so I just want to make a quick video about it. And the guys were kind of asking me what I thought was better. Was a big stride better? Is it better to get your foot down early on a short stride? And the answer is there's really not one answer. I kind of already made a video about getting your foot down early and how it's kind of a fallacy that people say great hitters get their foot down really, really early. So go check that video out about getting your foot down early if you're wondering about that. But for right now, I'm just going to talk about stride length. So the way it goes is if you're a hitter that stands upright with his feet really close together in his stance, you're going to have a longer stride. If you're a guy that has a wide stance, you're going to have a shorter stride. And that's just the way it goes. There's a distance in there for everyone that you have to get to have good balance at the plate. So if you're narrow, you got to take a longer stride to get to that good position where we can really get into the ground. If you're wide, you don't have very far to go. So it might, Nomar Garcia-Parra, he barely strided. He picked his heel up, put his heel down. He was more of a wide guy. Jeff Bagwell was so wide that he actually had to come in a little bit to get to that position. So it's all dependent upon your stance. That's how far we're going to go. Now, big thing about your stride. If you're a guy that's standing very tall and you have a big stride, the most important thing is your stride can be big. It doesn't really matter. You just have to make sure that you don't go with your stride, that your hands stay back. They call it walking away from your hands. So as you stride, your hands need to stay back. That's very important. Some guys with big strides, they'll stride and they'll carry their hands with them, and that's shrinking down the distance. We want distance from our hand to our front foot. So remember, keep your hands back, walk away from them if you have a bigger stride because you're narrow in your stance. If you are a wide guy and you don't have a big stride, this is also very important. Guys that get their front foot down early typically are going to have a lot of weight on their backside. So if your foot's down early and your weight's on your backside, you need to make sure that you get your weight off of your front side before you hit. This does a few things for you. When you're down and you have a lot of weight on your backside, this is for guys that get down early with their stride, maybe guys that don't stride very much at all. Make sure that the weight isn't all on your backside. If it is, what's going to happen is the more weight we put on our backside, the more our hips open. The more weight we get in the middle, they close off. The more weight we get in the front side, they really close off. Now, where we want to be is kind of in that middle, where your head is over your center of gravity, so your hips are closed. So make sure when you get your weight back, if you're a guy that really gets his weight back and gets his foot down early, that we get back to center before we go. That's going to allow us to close our hips. If we don't do that, our hips are open, and once they start to go, it's going to be impossible to cover anything middle away because our hips are already going to be gone. So watch that. I'm going to throw a few videos up real quick on the computer, and it's going to show a couple of different strides. It's going to show some guys that have a lot of weight on their backside stride early, but if you watch, and I'll show you, they get back to the middle and they close their hips back off. Very important to have your hips. They don't have to be closed like pointing towards first base for a righty, but they can't be open. You want to have your back pocket kind of facing that pitcher where your hips are closed. So I'll throw some videos up there. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but just to finish off, remember, it's all dependent upon your stance. That's how big your stride is going to be. Just make sure that you don't get out front. You keep your hands back. And as you stride, you want to take everything together. Keep your head in the middle of your body, and you can move forward. You just got to keep everything centered. All right? Thanks, guys. Check out the rest of the video. All right, guys. I just want to say something real quick. I think I made a little boo-boo. I said that you want to get your weight off your front side in the video. I meant you want to get your weight off your backside. So if you're a guy that strides early and has a lot of weight on the backside, you need to get that weight off before you start swinging. So sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyways, here we got Curtis Granderson. I'm going to put a few guys up that are guys that stride early and get down early, so you can see. So here's Granderson, and he's going to load back, so he gets a lot of weight on his backside right there. Now, here he comes to stride, and I'll slow it down for you. And at toe touch, right when he strikes the ground, right here, you can see there's a lot of weight on his backside. Now, as he goes, what you got to make sure is you don't swing from right here, and that's the mistake a lot of guys make. A lot of younger guys that get their foot down early is they try to swing from back here, and they don't get the weight off the backside. So, watch Granderson. Here comes his move, and you can see it's really slow, but see how he's getting off his backside, and he still hasn't started to swing yet. So, he used to be back here. Now he's centered again. So he was probably 70-30, and now he's getting back to almost a 50-50 position with his weight. And that's really, really important. He's still moving, still. And now here comes his rotation. He's back to even, and now he's going to start to rotate. So that's one example. Okay, here's Aaron Hill. So if we watch Aaron and we start to move it back, he's another guy that gets a lot of weight on his backside. And see how he's kind of reaching out with that front foot. Now that's fine, but this is another point here. If we stop it, here's a bent back knee. He's got a straight front knee. So all his weight is on his backside. And we'll see this a lot with younger guys. But if you look, his hips are pointed off in this direction. And if he were to swing like this, he'd be pulling off balls so quickly he wouldn't be able to cover anything middle away. So he has to get his hips closed and get his weight off his backside. So we run this forward. Here goes the move. And you can see he's getting off his backside and his hips are starting to close. Still. Now, right before that part happens, now we're back to even. Hips are closed. And now he's able to start his swing. So it's important to get off that backside if you're a guy that has a small stride or a wider guy or an early stride. You got to get off that backside and you got to close your hips. Okay, so the last guy I wanted to throw up here is Kevin Youkilis, just because he probably starts with his feet closer together than anyone in the league. They're practically touching. So because he does this, he's going to need to take a bigger stride so that he can get out there and get a good base underneath him. Now, if you're going to be a guy that's going to hit somewhat similar to this, where your feet are close together in your stance, there's two things to remember on your stride. The first thing is you want to lead with your back pocket going towards the pitcher. And if I fast forward this a little bit, you'll see this back pocket right here is starting to move towards the pitcher. His momentum is going towards the pitcher. The second thing is the stride foot. You always want to stride back towards the pitcher or back up the middle. You never want to stride into the plate where we're diving in and our momentum's falling over the plate. That makes it a lot tougher to hit. You always want your momentum in your back pocket moving back up the middle towards the pitcher. This is going to put you in the best position to begin your swing.